And to start, I'm Lyndon Jones, councillor in Bishopston and chair of the panel. And to my left,
Michelle Roberts, Scrutiny Officer.
Helen Morgan Rees, Director of Education.
David Thomas, Principal School Improvement Advisor.
Robert Smith, Cabinet Member, Education.
Councillor Adam Davis, Member for Llwch Ward.
Councillor Francesca O'Brien, representing Mumbles Ward.
Councillor Angela O'Connor, also representing Mumbles Ward.
Councillor Sandra Joy, Uplands and Brynmill Ward.
David Bradley, Partneriaeth.
Great, thank you all. And as I say, welcome to the Education Scrutiny Performance Panel. What I intend to do, there's quite a long agenda, but we'll just go through a few things first quickly and then go straight on to speak to everybody from the Gowden cluster, because you can then go and we can do the formal bits at the very end if that's okay with everyone. So can I first ask, are there any apologies? I know we've had James McGettrick.
We've also had apologies from Elizabeth Lee, the co-opted member.
Okay. Are there any disclosures of a personal and prejudicial interest?
I need to go to speak. You're going to put the hand.
Yeah, I can. Sue I can see online there. Sue Jones and Bev, is it?
Can I declare an interest, Lyndon, please?
Certainly, and Michelle will send you the necessary form.
I filled it in already and sent it to Michelle, so she's had it.
Okay, thank you. And Bev?
I'd like to declare an interest. I've got 2 grandchildren in Gowden Comp.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else at all? No?
I have a child in Gowden Comprehensive as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Right, and obviously we know there's prohibition of whip votes. So can we go straight on to the new curriculum for Wales, and as I say, formally welcome the Gowden Comprehensive School Cluster. I understand, is it Kath and Donna who are going to kick off? Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry. Before we sorry, I'm running ahead of myself. Can I welcome David Bradley from Partneriaeth, who's going to give a bit of an overview of some of the support that the cluster have had. I beg your pardon, sorry.
Oh, thanks very much. Hi everyone, I'm David Bradley. I work with Partneriaeth and I'm the link person for the Gowden cluster, or the North Gower Partnership, should I say. I've had 2 children that go through the North Gower Partnership, through Llanrhidian Primary and Gowden Secondary. So I actually asked to be the link person for this cluster because I felt I knew the cluster quite well and had a vested interest in being the cluster link. So my role is really a sort of a communications link between Partneriaeth and the cluster, but I also support with the science and technology, AOE as well, and have been doing so for the last sort of 8 to 10 years. I've got a brief overview of some of the support and some of the work that the cluster has had from Partneriaeth, but I think it's more fair to say really, with this particular cluster, it's more of a partnership working very often rather than Partneriaeth supporting them. It feels like a very, very equal relationship where Partneriaeth gain as much from the North Gower Partnership as they do from us. So with that respect, from our point of view, the cluster is a strong cluster. One of their strengths is the fact that they worked as a cluster very, very early on, before many other clusters did. And so their working relationship was incredibly strong, even before this new curriculum came in. So one of the features of the new curriculum is cluster working to plan for progression from 3 to 16. And a lot of clusters are still developing relationships between primaries and secondaries and trying to work their way through that challenge before even sort of getting on to planning for the new curriculum. But the North Gower Partnership already had that in place. They were already very proactive as a cluster, more so than many, many other clusters, and also gave themselves a name which didn't put the secondary sort of above the primaries in terms of the name of the cluster, calling themselves the North Gower Partnership. So a very strong partnership as far as partneriaeth is concerned with the Gowerton cluster. In terms of the new curriculum, they are and have been making very, very good progress as far as we are concerned in partneriaeth from what we've seen. They've been able to plan as a cluster progression from 3 to 16 very, very effectively. They've been looking at how you can make strong links across the curriculum, across different AOLEs and within the AOLEs as well. And they're even tackling the area of the curriculum that everyone seems to be struggling with, which is assessment, and they're doing a very good job of that as well. So in terms of that, again, a very, very strong cluster. They're also willing to try things out, to take a risk, and to be self-reflective. And I think the last time I sort of talked to Donna, she was saying about we're trying things out. If it goes wrong, it doesn't matter. We'll evaluate it, and we're strong enough to sort of say if it's not going well and we can improve. So a very good ethos of evaluation, self-evaluation and improvement planning. I do have some more sort of specific support here. I could pass some sheets around if that's more helpful to have a look at. Yeah.
Then email them out to the
absolutely
different
yes.
partners.
Sorry. I've only got a few, I'm afraid, but it gives a flavour of the type of support and the type of partnership working that the North Gower Partnership and Partneriaeth have been going through over the past 8 to 10 years. And you can see from it almost all AOLEs are represented there, if not all. The secondary has been engaging in secondary networks since 2014 with English, maths and science, and more recently with primary networks as well. But there's a vast sort of range of things the partnership has been doing with Partneriaeth, which puts them in a very, very good place. As well as that, it's not just Partneriaeth sort of supporting the partnership. They help us as well, where we have Kath and Sian from the secondary delivering on national projects, the leadership projects as well, and a number of the primaries that have engaged with the National Professional Inquiry Project. I know Llanryddion and Gowerton have, for example, the NPEP project. I could go into a bit more detail about the specifics, but I could also email them out if that's more suitable. Yeah, but in summary, from our point of view in Partneriaeth, a very, very strong partnership that was ahead of the game when the curriculum came out because they'd already set up strong cluster links. They're very, very approachable as far as we are concerned, and they engage in a lot of what we offer.
Great, thank you. If you could email them to Michelle, and Michelle will make sure everybody has a copy. Has anybody got any questions for David before we move on? No? Everybody's so you've been let off the hook there. So that's fine. Could so it's obviously the North Gower Partnership, which is fantastic. Could I ask you, each of you, before we kick off? I know two of you, I think, are going to do the presentation and answer some of the questions that we sent to you. But would you like to introduce yourselves so we know who we are looking at on screen.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting us today. My name is Kathleen Lawler and I'm the head teacher at Gowerton.
Round up of Jimmy Evans, head teacher at Arlo.
Morrison Frew, chair of governors at Gowerton.
Hugh Jones, chair of primary school in Gowerton and a governor for the comprehensive school as well. You all know me.
Ian Ashton, acting head teacher at Gowerton Primary School.
Rachel Lewis, head teacher, Pennygrove Primary School. Louisa Reynolds-Mills, head teacher, Pengrove Primary School.
Donna Caswell, head teacher, Llanfydien Primary School.
Would you like us now to go straight into our presentation?
That would be great. And, you know, as I say, and if you could do that and obviously take into mind the questions that we set you. Thank you.
Thank you. What we would like to do then is to share a PowerPoint with you, and then myself and Donna will talk our way through the PowerPoint. If there are any questions while we're speaking, if you don't mind putting your hand up, and then we hope we'll be able to answer those for you. So if you give us a moment just to be able to share the screen with you. Thank you.
Could I suggest that you stop after each sort of section so that we can ask questions as we go along?
Okay. So can I just double check you can all see the screen, the PowerPoint?
Yes. As I say, I don't know if you picked up, if you could stop after each section so we can ask questions as we go along, if there are any questions. Okay.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, as I'd like to say to thank Dave, because he did mention some lovely things about us as a partnership. And I think that is the first slide we want to show you how important it is that you understand we don't consider ourselves as Gowerton School Cluster. This is the North Gower Partnership. And as you can see here from the slide, we've named the schools that are part of that partnership. And for information, we thought we'd share with you there the number of pupils, teachers and teaching assistants. And we also felt it was important to let you know that on average in each year group, we have around 96% of our pupils from the North Gower Partnership coming into Gowerton School. I thought that was an important statistic to share with you. Dave has already mentioned this. We have got a strong history, so we wanted you to know this and to see this. So I've been fortunate enough to be teaching here for the last 32 years. And in the 32 years, the North Gower Partnership has developed in that time from being what was considered to be the comp, the big school, to being a partnership. And in those early years, we always had an annual Cymynfagami. We've always had strong transition from primary to secondary, lots of sporting activities. But in the last 15 years, we've developed it further by having all the things you can see on the screen there. And I know many of you have come to some of these events and shared some of these events with us. So in the last 15 years, very much strong link with our teachers in moderating work. We've had exhibitions. We had a group, we call it 5, 6, 7, 8. So across the schools, we were sharing ideas within exhibitions that we had. Every 2 years, we still hold a Browning concert. And that is a wonderful event with over 400 children, as you can see in one of the photos there, on stage, and 1,000 people in the audience sharing what is something that we think is quite unique as a partnership to be able to put on. We have instrumental days where our schools get together to be able to perform with a concert at the end of it here in the hall. Lots of competitions. I won't read through everything on there. I think it's important you realise, as Dave Bradley said, it's been established for many, many years. Now, when we did start looking at successful futures with Professor Donaldson, we looked at this idea of, in preparing for it, what can we take out of it? Because as many of you know, it was a large document. But two things we wanted to focus on, the fact that all teaching and learning should be directed towards the 4 purposes. And in particular, we have focused on the 12 pedagogical principles. So what we asked of our staff, what did we see as being the 12 pedagogical principles? And we felt that we were already doing most of these things. They focused on good teaching and learning. And these were things that our staff were doing on a day-to-day. And we wanted them to realise, well, actually, the importance of these pedagogical principles we felt were already embedded in what we were doing. Now, in some of our more recent history, we wanted to say 3 of our schools were pioneer schools within the new curriculum. 3 of us were fortunate enough to be leaders of learning, or LOLs, as we called ourselves. We did also do that while keeping our full-time roles. It kept us busy, but I felt it was really helpful for us to be involved in that. We've also been on an international visit which launched our North Gower Partnership's Mentally Healthy Schools model, which we will share with you later. And then through the COVID years, we felt we strengthened that partnership even further. We had weekly meetings. We made sure that we were sharing all the information that was needed across the partnership. And I'll be honest, I felt it helped us through really difficult times during those COVID years. So building that communication made us even stronger. From that, we even shared then, as we see there, that understanding of progression came even stronger. And so in doing all this, in starting these ideas within a partnership, we felt we needed a character to be able to help all our pupils to be able to understand what we were trying to do in the new curriculum. We felt we needed a positive can-do attitude. And so our Kanga was born. You will see Kanga on many of our documentation. This is where he started, possibly around 8 years ago now, we developed this. And I thank Ryan Hall-Richards, who's in the room here with me, as our resource manager across the partnership for creating Kanga. And as we say, Can-Do Kanga was born. Now, there you see Kanga. We then developed, as a group, through all our discussion, the what, the how, the why. And as you can see there, we believe one of our strongest things is that our learners would be future citizens that would embed that the 4 purposes at the core of all they were doing. And we believe strongly it's not just a message for children, it is a message for adults as well. So we ourselves believe that these 4 purposes are important in our everyday lives as well. There they are, the 4 purposes. I'm sure you all know these already. Again, then we have our pedagogical principles. So here are the different Kangas that Ryan created to help us. And I do mean us as staff, because we, first of all, as teachers, had to understand the pedagogical principles. We call them the 12 PPs, because it's much easier than saying pedagogical principles. Here they are. By learning a different character for each, it helped us as staff to then be able to help the children understand why in our schemes of work, not necessarily in every lesson, but certainly in our schemes of work, that these pedagogical principles would be present. So I hope in reading them there, you understand why and how they are so important to us. Again, we mentioned earlier the 6 areas of learning. This was our next step then to make sure that within the whole cluster, we were looking at these within our lessons or within schemes of work, certainly. And then I mentioned earlier to you the North Gower Partnership Mentally Healthy Schools model. This is something that's so important to us because we share a lot of the external agencies that work across the partnership. And so we use this in all that we do, in particular with our pastoral care as well. So this information is shared with our parents so that they have an understanding of where the teaching and learning is so important in all that we do, and all the things that we've just seen there are shared with parents to be able to read that. So Dave Bradley's already mentioned there working with partneriaeth and also with the local authority. We've mentioned just some of the things. This is just the tip of the iceberg, really. We did do some work with Lucy Crehan before she started working with the organised workshops. because we'd heard her, I think, on a head teachers conference, and we're impressed with her work. So she did some work with us as a partnership, and then we did continue with the organised workshops as well. Many of the courses with Partneriaeth and originally, as it was known, ERW. We've done a lot of work recently with the AOLE groups, as Dave has already mentioned. We mentioned how much we gained from being in the ERW Leaders of Learning, the LOL secondments, but also lots of the courses, the conferences, the sharing good practice we get through the local authority, but also the SCASH, SCASON, head teacher conferences and UCA as well. We believe we gain a great deal from that and those meetings. And then we also wanted to mention to you our Siarteriaeth work. As Gowerton School, we are a gold school, which is the only school in Swansea, I believe, and we were the second school in Wales. And these are just some of the things, because the Welsh language is very important to us, Cynefin as well. Knowing about our locality, our ardal, as we say in Welsh, is so important. So here are just some of the examples that we as a partnership have produced videos for. And Donna, in a moment, I shall be handing over to her, will speak about our North Gower Partnership website. And if any of you are interested, you'll be able to see some of these linked to our Gowerton School website and to the Partneriaeth website. That is my section. I hope you have now an understanding. And some of the questions you asked of us, I hope you will have seen have been answered already. But some of the further detail of the more recent history, and especially our 3-year plan, I'd now like to hand over to Donna, and she will be able to go into more detail on that for you. Do you have any questions at this point about our history so far and how important it is? We've explained that to you for you to have an understanding of our partnership and how strong it's been over those 30 years.
Great, thanks, Kath. Have we got any questions so far? Yes, few in here. Sandra first.
Sorry, just what I hope is a very short question. I just wondered, you gave a context, you gave the number of pupils and all of that. What about a deprivation measure, if possible, please, so that we can have a context as to what comes next? I would have said FSM in the old days, but I think that's moved on a bit.
The FSM, it's going to be different for each school.
Oh, great.
Sorry.
Are there any other questions from anyone? No, so that's that.
Well, just to mention that it's slightly different for each of the schools. Would you like us as separate schools to say our EFSM?
It's really just a general context for me to be able to sort of put into place what you're going to say next.
Well, as I say, because of the different areas, and I think that perhaps is another strength of how well we work together, because obviously we do have some of our schools closer to Swansea, if you don't mind me saying, you know, with Wanaloedd and Gowerton, and then you have them and schools going down then through the Gower down towards the furthest then is Llanryddian. So of course, across that whole, it's a different demographic really across the whole partnership. But I think that's one of our strengths, is how well we can bring all our strengths then together to work as a group.
Yeah, sorry, another question from...
yeah, hi, just to say that. Thank you for that. And obviously the school are very lucky to have had you for 30 years and really, really good communication clearly between all of them. It was interesting to see at the beginning, 96%, I think it was, wasn't it, of the children from the feeder schools going to that school. So that's really, really encouraging. Thank you.
Great. Anything else from anyone? No, great. Kath, you can move on. Thank you very much. And thank you for that bit of the presentation.
Thank you. I'll hand over to Donna now then. Thank you.
Hello there. So I'm going to go through the next phase really from in more recent years, although I may hand over to Ryan to show you the website so that we may come out with this presentation at some points, just so you can see what is live and available to you and the wider world at all times. So it's fair to say that over the years, we've definitely become more strategic in our approach as a cluster. And fair to say as well that developing a shared understanding of progression has been no mean feat. And we're not suggesting we are there yet either, but we certainly have made some strides towards it. With over 100 teachers, 200 members of teaching staff, you know, it's a hurdle, but one that we are enjoying the challenge of facing. So over the last few years, we've now made a plan. Last year, you can see we developed, we agreed on our approach, on our journey ahead. We used the principles of progression to launch this approach. We developed the AOLE networks, which have been at the heart of so much sharing good practice and so much support, especially since COVID. The teachers really came together across the whole of the North Gower Partnership and have worked superbly together and forged really good relationships, which are ongoing. We've agreed on cluster domains. We've published a curriculum summary as a cluster. I mean, I know every school has to do this, but we have a cluster curriculum summary, which we'll show you in a moment. And as Kath said, we've developed, and we're very proud of, or are developing, a North Gower Partnership cluster website. That was last year. This year, we're working on refining the domains. And as Dave said, we're continually evaluating and going back and saying, this hasn't worked. And we do that by listening to all our teachers and all our staff. We recently had an inset day where all the teachers got together. And from that, we've now got another pathway of where to go next, because we've listened to all of the practitioners. So constantly refining. For example, we're now currently looking at how we can develop some non-negotiable learning objectives that we all agree to. But of course, that's a huge feat, because we really have to work on what makes a good learning objective and make sure all 200 of our practitioners really understand how best to deliver, plan, assess and report on progress. Next year, we will be reviewing and refining what we've done today and hopefully implementing the optional learning objective framework, which we are currently working on. Here's some. Yeah. As soon as I pick up the clicker, it stops working. Am I doing wrong? Okay. So here's some examples of resources that we've developed to support our teachers to achieve. We recognise right from the beginning that it's our practitioners that drive the curriculum. So we've had to work at making sure they have what they need. And again, I'll say it again, we've listened to the practitioners to make sure they have what they need to be successful in the classroom. So you can see some examples there. And again, I'll show you that through the website. There you go. No. So our northgowerpartnership.com, which we'll show you now, is a live website that's available to everyone. Its aim was to showcase our collaborative work, our policies, our approaches, our guidance, in particular, our curriculum summary. So I'll just click on the curriculum summary there. So this supports the teachers and anybody new coming into our workforce. So we've got all our links there. We've also got, there we are, we'll go back. Obviously, you can look at this at any point in time because it's live. We've also got a section which focuses on progression, which I'll show you quickly, but obviously I'll go into a little bit more detail in a moment. Okay, but this is again very informative to support all practitioners across the partnership. And we are constantly developing shared policies to again bring that consistency of principle across all 6 schools. Needs to be said, we are 6 very different schools, so that is a consistency of principle, not identical practice across our partnership. Okay, so we'll go back to the PowerPoint. And please have a look at that, and your feedback from our website would be very much appreciated. So, looking at the principles of progression was our launch pad, and we started really digging down and looking at these from 2021. We were still in the shadow of COVID, but we recognised early that we needed to start looking forward, and that's when the discussions really started to begin. So we used these to launch what we now know is the Lua model. Unless you're in Gowerton Primary School, who call it the Noir model, because they think they are the posh. The aim of developing a consistent model was very much to support our practitioners to get it right, to support their planning, to support their assessment, and that makes consistent reporting more readily available for everybody concerned. We wanted an equitable curriculum. We wanted to make sure it was based on sound research and be ambitious. And all practitioners within our partnership are supported via the resources that we have developed. All of the resources are available via our North Gower Partnership website in a shared area that is only accessible to our practitioners. Bloom's taxonomy was at the heart of our principles of progression. We all recognise that this is that learning is a consecutive process. So we used again and aligned the principles of progression to ensure we kept coming back to what really matters. And in a nutshell, we all recognise and agree that we need to teach children so they can learn, give them practice so they can understand, and are given opportunities, once they've understood, to apply what they know and can do. And this is at the heart of what we do across all 6 schools. That is how we plan and assess progress across the North Gower Partnership. Now, the ACE model are the higher order skills. Analyse, create, and evaluate. And these are the skills that employers continually ask for. So these are very, very important. All practitioners across the partnership are expected to build on the learn, understand, and apply model and enhance the children's learning with opportunities to analyse, create, and evaluate their work. We recognise this is a spiral approach, and children constantly revisit that knowledge, skills, and experiences in order to progress, which is why we decided to develop a greater understanding of what learning objectives look like and agree some consistency across the partnership. We are still developing our definition of learning, a good learning objective across the partnership, but it's going to be something along these lines. A good learning objective will describe the result, the knowledge, skills, or attitudes that our students should have at the end of the activity or unit. It is the learning objective that will be assessed using the learn, understand, apply approach. But with careful considerations, teachers must plan opportunities to develop those higher order skills of analyse, create and evaluate. Assessing progression. Not an easy task. There's a significant shift in the role of assessment within education, and we've looked hard at this. It's important to support each individual learner to progress at their pace, ensuring they are challenged accordingly. Our model provides practitioners with the next steps to support that pupil's progression. If they have learnt something, then the teacher knows they have to plan practice for the child to develop a deeper understanding. If the child understands, then an authentic opportunity must be planned so that they can apply those skills appropriately. And then that learning needs to be enhanced with opportunities to analyse, create and evaluate. And the teachers have the resources to help them with that. Mr. Hall, could you just click on the keywords just to support? I'll just show you an example of the sort of resource that we give teachers, what teachers have developed alongside us. Not that one, sorry, Mr. Hall. That does help. Yeah. But it was the keywords I was looking for, those ones. These are the progressive keywords that our teachers use to help them plan and assess the pupil's learning. So, for example, at progression step 3, if the child is at the learn stage, they can define, they can identify, they can locate. But with practice, they can cite, contrast, estimate, extend, generalise. The teacher needs to then plan opportunities for them to administer, associate, categorise, correlate. You get the idea. And there's also support then to develop those higher order skills of analyse, create and evaluate. We go back to the PowerPoint, please, Mr. Hall. So our progression step mapping, as we said and outlined in our 3-year plan, we've agreed the domains across all 6 AOLEs, and we're now developing those learning objectives, those good, smart, sharp learning objectives to give all our children across the cluster that equity coming into Gowerton. And as we said, it's a 96% of our children do go to Gowerton. So this is effective. The consistency of concept is really important. But we do have our own contexts. We are, as I said, 6 very different schools, and we celebrate that in all we do. With over 100 teachers, this has been a big challenge, but we're getting there because the leaders of the partnership all agreed that this is vital for our future learners. The integral skills, I mentioned that businesses are asking and crying out for these earlier in the presentation. So what we've done as a North Gow partnership, could we have a little look at that example? Again, to support our teachers to achieve, we've broken down those integral skills to support the planning of every practitioner when they are developing those learning opportunities. And as you can see, we've taken those and broken them down to support. They're not set in stone, but they just support the teachers to get it right and also provide them with progression of integral skills across all areas of learning. And that goes down to progression step. There. We've also developed reporting aids. Now, we talked about those words that help the teachers plan and assess. They also help the teachers report where the child is and where they need to go next. As a partnership, we encourage all our practitioners to undertake action research. And we are beginning to summarise these on our website. And you will see a few examples if you visit our website. We have recognised the strength of having a range of policies that we all adhere to. That consistency of approach supports our parents as well as our practitioners. So we have developed certain policies and guidance, such as a safeguarding manual, our RSE journey. Ooh. Attendance policy is another one. And we are committed to continually developing more of these. Again, all these are available on our website. I'm going to hand back to Kath now.
Thank you, Donna. So our last slide contains the questions that you sent us. Now, we are hoping that during the presentation that you've heard, I believe we've covered most of these. But again, if there are any questions now, that formally is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening. But I do hope that, as you can see there, that we have covered, I think, most of those questions. Are there any other questions, or would you prefer some further detail regarding these questions you sent us, please?
No, great. There are questions. Can I first of all, though, thank you, very much for, putting that presentation together. It was really professionally done, and well done to you all for putting that together. Thank you. There will be questions, and I can see a few hands going up already. Who's coming in
Stop
first?
the presentation.
We got online, Councillor Mike Day.
Thank you, Lyndon, and thank you everyone for the presentation. It's very enlightening and very encouraging in terms of looking at the way in which the North Gower Partnership is working. I've got two questions, one which would be sort of a fairly specific one, and one then which would be a more general one. So the specific one is, how do you go about sharing resources in the sense of not just obviously as you've covered with learning materials and so on, but I was thinking more in terms of, for example, the documents that you produce, obviously branded with North Gower Partnership, and printing costs are involved. There's the setting up and maintenance of the website. There may be kind of other activities, and who kind of takes the lead, as it were, in terms of moving a lot of these issues forward, and how the resources might be allocated. Do you have a kind of a common budget which you agree at the start of each financial year to enable you to develop and move forward on those resources? And then the second question, if I may, which is much more of a general one, is also very impressive. We heard from David here today and David Thomas previously about how well the partnership is working, and it's impressive to see the way in which the cluster is working together. And my question would be, in terms of advice to other clusters, what would be the key factors that you would see as being important to be put in place if they were to follow a similar model? Thank you.
Thank you. If I may answer the first question, I think, well, I may answer both actually. What I'm going to say, it's so important to have communication. So the regular meetings that we have as a partnership, I think that has been something that's been important, to be able to have those meetings. I feel as well, if I may say, we also get on very well, so that makes it easier when we're in those meetings. But again, that's been because of a build-up of, you have to work at relationships, and it's been, as we explained there, a history of it. But I think it's listening to one another, communicating well with one another. We're very fortunate to have Ryan Hall-Richards, who's hiding just off camera, and he is our resource manager. And this is something over the last 2 years that we have incorporated him in as a resource manager, and he is an expert in IT, and he is also a genius in producing all of these ideas. And as you've seen there, the work is mostly his on that website. So he is fantastic at creating it. But as you said, he's in on those meetings. So we feed ideas and we share all our ideas together. And as Donna mentioned earlier, that comes from listening to the children, listening to our staff, and then us coming together as a group, and also the deputy heads of the partnership as well, coming together to share those ideas. You mentioned budget. It is something that we do try our very best to put aside some of our own budgets to put together, but if ever there's any more money available, we're always looking for it. We look for grants. We went for that Leaders of Learning when we did that, 3 of us, because there was some very good money that came towards funding it. So all that, whatever we can try and do, it comes together then to be able to resource what we're trying to do.
And I think as well, Kath, I would say the focus when we've done curriculum innovation, we've focused on curriculum because there's so many other things that come up as a cluster. We've been very specific that we've organised curriculum innovation meetings where we just talk about the curriculum, and then we have business meetings where we talk about the logistics and the transition and things like that. And I think by separating those two out and giving the curriculum the time, the effort it needs, then that has made sure that we're all very focused on that during those meetings.
Great, thank you. Mike, do you need to go back?
Advice to other clusters?
Yes. Yeah, it's just advice to other clusters. You know, obviously development of a culture is quite important, isn't it? It's been not something that's happened overnight.
Yeah, base it on research as well, and lots of discussion, because it is building those relationships and it is unpicking things. And I don't think any one of us has come to any conclusions without the support of or everybody putting it together. So it's time, and it's time. It's basing it on research, and as Kath said, it's building those relationships are absolutely key.
It's the openness and honesty, I think, as well as the things, and the mutual respect that we've all got. That each school is different, but we've got a common goal.
Yeah.
It's also prioritising the value and the importance of the partnership.
Great, thank you. I think one of the things you mentioned earlier was we get on well, and very often that chemistry means so much actually when you want to make something successful, and you can see the reaction. Could I say, you mentioned obviously Mike mentioned in his question about resources, about the various websites and so on. You mentioned a resource manager who deals with a lot of this. Is that funded from the whole cluster, or is it from one school alone?
Yeah, it's something that we've agreed on.
So that's funded then from each of the schools. You each put a portion in, do you, to fund that?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah, each school puts a portion of money in to fund that, or is it one school paying for it?
I think as we move forward and budgets are getting tighter, these are discussions we are going to have to explore more and more. At the moment, we're always looking at ways of trying to save money. And I mean, for example, releasing teachers to work in their network groups has now moved to shared ad sessions where we're all meeting after school. The practitioners are meeting after school in various different schools and working it like that. So it's a challenge, a real challenge, and it's going to be more of a challenge moving forward. And those discussions, we're smiling because we know we've got to have lots more discussions around this.
Yeah, sure. No, I asked the question I asked was, obviously you have a resource manager. How was that funded? Was it funded by one school, or did you fund it collectively? That's what I really was asking and wanted an answer.
Right, it is funded by us at Gowerton, but as Donna said there, we said that we would take that funding to pay Ryan over the 2 years that he has been doing this job. But we didn't ask the money from the primaries, because instead the primaries were putting their money into allowing staff to come out for AOLE meetings, and allowing staff to come for meetings to do with, as we say, the deputy heads, for them to meet up, and for them as head teachers to meet up. So that's why we're smiling, because officially we'd like to say it's shared, but truthfully we are looking at different ways of sharing it. So does that make sense?
Great, thank you. I have to say he's doing a good job. I must say. So well done to Ryan. Right, we've got a few other questions coming forward. Yeah, there's Councillor Angela.
Hi there. So I totally agree about building relationships. I think communication is clear, that a lot of you, all of you there, work collectively, and I really enjoyed the presentation. Thank you. You made it clear and informative. You talk about the progression steps and the keywords, and obviously you mentioned learn, understand and apply, and then obviously you give them the opportunities, which is brilliant. I'm just interested in what those opportunities are and how you manage to, with the different schools and the different situations that maybe each school is in, how you maintain consistency in those opportunities.
So the opportunities are authentic and meaningful to each school. So, for example, what I plan in Llanryddian may not be of interest to pupils in Penrith Road or relevant, therefore it wouldn't be authentic. So the opportunities are bespoke to the individual schools. However, the consistency is in the concepts that we all agree. A very simple example is that if we were all ensuring that our pupils knew that when you heat a solid, it turns into a liquid. I might do it through ice cream because of Gigi's, and Rachel may look at the tin mines or whatever you do up there, I don't know, and look at it that way. So it's the concept. So no, we don't plan the same opportunities of learning in terms of the context, but in terms of the concept, we're very tight. So our children come to Gowerton with the same knowledge and skills and concepts to give them that equity.
And I would say that when we bring our teachers together very regularly, where they share learning experiences and planning, and they look at each other's books and work, that's when they're getting a shared understanding of the different opportunities that are going on in each school. However, the skills and the consistency, they're looking for that as well. So we've got that overall understanding.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess the Brangwyn Hall is also one, isn't it, where they all come together for that one. And the pupils, the feedback that you get from those opportunities that you're able to provide for them, I guess they're positive, are they?
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
And I think also, sorry, just to add on to that, it's not just the pupils. We all open the doors to the parents as well. So the parents get to see the real life learnings going on in the school. That's a culture shift from a few years ago. The door is open to parents. There's workshops, there's shared events where children are leading events, showcasing their learning to the parents.
That's good.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Francesca O'Brien.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to echo what everyone else has said before me, that it is evident that you're all working extremely well together, and it's a fantastic example of a fantastic cluster working. And it was nice just picking up, this is more of an observation, and I'll come to the question, but the observation was like what Donna from Llanryddian said then, that each school still has their identity and they're using the local economy, shall I say, GGs, not that I'm biased to a Gower company, but it's nice to see that they're using in local businesses and enterprises so that the children, I know it's on staff, but they can learn that it's of interest to them. So I think that's really great that although you're working together and sharing those ideas, but you've got your own identity and it's not just sort of a textbook exercise. But my question is, do you think it helps that, I think you said there was 96% go on to Gowerton Comprehensive School. Do you think it's of benefit that you are working as well as you are because you are setting those children up to go on to that next chapter so that, you know, I can see why probably Gowerton want to pay for that because you want them to have, you know, children coming in, they're best prepared for secondary education, because I do appreciate some clusters may be not the feeder school for the secondary. So yeah, so the question is, do you think that does help that the majority of the children are sort of gearing up ready to go on to that secondary so you can all work in harmony? Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's an agreement here in the room. Everyone is saying yes. And as you saw earlier, you know, it does start. We talk about it's 3 to 16 officially new curriculum. We have got sixth form as well. It is 3 to 18. And one thing I love doing when it comes to September time is we talk of the partnership, and one of the first things that all the schools ask, how did, and they name children that were in their school 6, 7 years ago, still knowing them, still seeing them as pupils that they knew, and are still keen to know how they've progressed and developed. And I think that's an important part of that sharing as well. And one other thing I'd like to mention, you know, we've got pupils from other schools that do also come here, but they learn almost immediately how strong the link is with the children from each of the partnership schools. And so they get on board then with the same sort of thinking as well. So it really does help us to have that strong, established partnership, as we say. And the transition, Donna was mentioning just now, the transition is really strong. So children will have visited, we think it's important, they visit Gowerton as often as they can from around year 4 upwards, so that they don't feel it's an enormous step then to go to, as I mentioned earlier, some might still consider it the big school. We try to make it just a part of, it's a seamless transition through then into secondary school. I think that helps children's well-being.
Yeah. And I think if you visit all the schools, you would see consistency of approach in the signage, for example, the can-do kanga. So when the children come here, they recognise it. It just helps with that transition because they know, you know, what can-do kanga is about. They know, you know, the learn, understand, apply approach. And we've got, you know, we keep saying it, that we've got a corporate responsibility to all our pupils. We do feel like we are a real partnership.
Great, thank you. Francesca?
If I can just come back, I think that's a really good point as well, because if the children are used to go, and I've been to Llanryddy, and Donna, the last time I saw you was with an ice cream on your playing fields last summer when the children were having their summer ice cream treats. But so I can imagine that the children are very familiar with going to Gowerton. I was just wondering, out of interest, what the attendance rate was at the school at the moment for the comprehensive, and just, you know, if they're used to going there and that familiarisation, particularly after COVID, what the attendance rate is at the comprehensive school.
Do you mean by attendance, like what is our overall attendance at the moment, or do you mean how often do the children visit? Sorry.
No, sorry, apologies. Sort of your overall attendance at the moment with the current children.
Well, at the moment, our overall attendance is something we're working on. We are slightly disappointed with it, as you know, I think most Swansea schools are. We are on 88, close to 89 average at the moment for our attendance, but it's something that actually we cleared this room earlier of our attendance team. We're all in here working to try and improve on that.
Great, thank you. Councillor Robert Smith, I can see Robert with his hand up.
Yeah, it's not a question, to be honest, but more of a thank you to the cluster for presenting the way they have done today. And I think it's been an impressive overview of what clearly an impressive amount of work that is going on there. And I think what's struck me is the level and the depth of engagement with professional issues that is going on across the schools involved here. Yes, they are working as individual schools, but then they are working to support each other as a partnership, and I think that's clearly a strength here. And there are quite a few things I jotted down there when I thought, well, this clearly offers a way forward that other clusters across Swansea need to be looking at. So once again, thank you very much to all of those involved, and thanks for the work, not just tonight, but clearly the work that is going on, that is ongoing across the North Gower cluster.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? No, I just got one or two brief points. First of all, as Councillor Robert Smith said, really well done. You can see there's a real chemistry with you all, and that comes through hard work. You can't, that just doesn't happen. That is through hard work, and you make it work for the benefit. One question is, Helen, our Director of Education, will say I always ask is, I hope we taking teachers with us on this journey, because it's a totally different way of working. They were used to a very prescriptive way, and had been for years, if people have been in the profession for many years. And I could see the way you were working and how you were giving examples of how you were doing that. And that was really good to see, because we all think that teachers are, what in the schools are greatest assets, and really important that actually is happening. And it was very encouraging to see, you actually taking, us on that bit of a journey. So thank you for that. Could I say, we've heard all the really good things that you're doing. Is there anything you could think of that you think, gosh, we could do better?
Gaverton's attendance.
We're working on it, Donna. We're working on it.
I appreciate that, and we know the difficulties coming out of COVID and getting people back in, and all of us governors of schools. So we, appreciate your pain. But no, I just wondered on the curriculum more than anything that in general.
I think it's more about the challenges that we face. So it's the challenges to release staff to get together. But as I said, we're now employing an ad session type system now. And the consistency, staff change as they do everywhere. So, it's the challenges of keeping it all going. The funding is a challenge. But we don't really see things as problems. We see them as an opportunity.
Great. No, that's but that's the way to tackle them. So thank you very much. Could I say it's you mentioned the curriculum, my last point, and then you we'll move on and you can escape, because I'm mindful of the time that you've given in your own time this evening for this meeting, and we're all very grateful. Within the curriculum, we've got humanities now. Does RVE receive parity of curriculum time with history and geography?
Yes.
Yes.
It does. Within the schools, yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Thanks for that. Listen, I don't think that Helen Morgan-Rees, our director, would like to say a word.
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo panellists' comments this evening, extremely proud of the work of North Gower Partnership, really pleased with what's been presented tonight. It does show very clearly and patently what individual schools can do together when they work in collaboration in a very mature partnership. So can I echo the thanks? But also I'm very pleased that you've got an eye on successful futures in terms of employability skills. Absolutely crucial. And obviously I've walked around some of your schools. I've observed you from afar on Twitter in terms of some of the offer you provide to your learners, and it is an offer that is exciting and engaging, and that really matters because you've made education fun and vital to our learners. So well done to everybody. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen, and honestly, thank you all very, very much for giving your time tonight, and you know, for putting that excellent presentation together and for the work that you've been doing. And it's clear that you've been doing an awful lot of work, and you can see, you know, as I say, the chemistry between you all, and that doesn't just happen. So thank you very much, and keep up the good work. I've picked up a few things that you said, and I think, oh, that's a good idea. And, you know, that is really important. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just add something before you finish? As governors, we have to look at the well-being of the teaching staff in all these schools. They're doing a tremendous job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, sorry about that. You know, we could see there was a great chemistry between them, and that doesn't just happen. You've got to make it happen. You've got to make it work, and they've done just that, really. So, you know, well done to them. And the point that I often raise, are we taking teachers with us on that journey? You could see that how the preparation they were doing, and you know, obviously in part, you know, thanks to you as well, David, for the work that you're doing to again make that happen, and obviously in fact the two David. There you go. But yeah, interesting. We can now get back on quickly to the agenda, and not long, but if you want to disappear, David, you're really welcome. Appreciate your time, and thank you very much. No, pleasure. We'd all like to see that, and I think members of the committee. So thank you for that. That's great. Thank you. Backing onto the agenda, we've got the minutes. We're going. Seems a bit strange to be talking about the minutes when the last bit of the meeting are, if they're a true record, and if for accuracy, could we look at page 1, page 2, and page 3? Are we happy? Yes, there we go. Thank you. The next point was the letters. Any comments about those? No. We're all good. And the only other point then is the is the draft work programme, and our next meeting is on the 12th of February, which is the annual council budget as it relates to education. So that is obviously important. And I'm sure Robert has been fighting the education corner to make sure we've got a massive budget to spend. And but there we go. So any comments about the work programme? And other than that, could I thank you all. Thank Michelle for putting it all together. Certainly the hell into David and Robert and to you all. And all the councillors online as well. So thank you very much. Been interesting, and to see how we've met now 2 different clusters. They do things in slightly different ways as well, and that's as it should be, because they are individual schools at the end of the day. But I think one of the things, and it was highlighted tonight, is the fact that when people in different primary schools are going to the comprehensive, they need to have those similar skills by the time they get there. And you can see what they were doing to try and achieve that. And I think that was a real strength.
And I
Sorry,
think
Robert,
going back to something you said, Chair, about the different expectation now that this curriculum has of practitioners. And I think that's, this could have been a disaster. If individual practitioners are being left to their own devices with no support, in their classrooms, that would not have worked. And I think this kind of approach, working across a cluster, bringing schools together to have a common approach where it's appropriate, and then allowing them the freedom to do their own thing where that's appropriate. I think that's the right balance. And you know, at least in one of the clusters here, and I think there are other examples as well. But I think we've certainly seen an example of it today.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it would be interesting to see if actually those clusters that maybe are not working so well together, if they've got a higher staff turnover because they feel lonely, unsupported, not connected to the other people that they work. Because that lady, I can't remember her name, sorry, who'd been at the Gowerton School head teacher for 30 years. She's been there for 30 years. She's embedded in the community. You know, she knows probably everybody in Gowerton. And, you know, that's really nice to see. And she probably is helping to hold all that together. And I think, yeah, it was really good to see that today. Looks young, to be fair. Been there 30 years.
David.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And good point. And Council has made a comment about trying to apply that model to other clusters. We explored that in the pre-meeting. I think the contextual information that have been asked by councillors is really important tonight. So, you know, we've asked about deprivation measures. That's an indicator. We've asked about the percentage of children who attend the secondary school from their primaries. The information is wide across the authority. And I'll just put some context, if I may. Last year, when Welsh Government published the Family of Schools information, which they've done again this year, Dylan Thomas Comprehensive School across Wales was the most challenged. The least challenged was Bishopston Comprehensive School across all of Wales. Bishopston Secondary School. So Bishopston, and so when you put that into context of 14 settings across the authority, that provides the backdrop to the challenges that the primary school feeders may face in some of the across the piece. So yeah, so we just need to apply that filter when we look at this, but that doesn't take away from the effective practice and the work that's gone on in this particular cluster and in a cluster that you've visited previously, Chair, through Pontedilais. But some of those practical arrangements, the application of a curriculum strategy is possible to apply in different contexts. So I'm really keen that you do ask us to provide the context and the backdrop before we, you know, dive into it. So thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, we do need to see other clusters and see what they're doing. And you know, with the nature of things, some will be doing far better than others. But you know, the two that we've seen, we can be very proud of the work that they are doing. And you know, certainly we saw that tonight as well. Because very good. Could I thank you all and very much and. As we enter, we leave for once a very warm Gloucester room because normally we're in our thermals, but it's and get out into the cold weather. But thank you all very much.